Hello and welcome to the TypeScript course by Eduonics. My name is Brad Traversy and I'll be your instructor for this course. So before we get started, I just want to give you some background info on myself. I have about 12 to 13 years in web development and design. About 4 or 5 of those years I've been teaching courses just like this. I specialize in different areas of front-end and server-side web development. I work with languages like PHP, Ruby, and JavaScript, and I specialize in JavaScript technologies like Node.js, Angular, React, and some of the other popular frameworks and libraries. Alright, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about what we'll be doing in this course. We'll be covering the fundamentals of the TypeScript programming language. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, and it's essentially JavaScript with many added features and functionality. So what you need to know before taking this course: you should know and understand HTML. CSS is not so important for this course, but in general it's a good idea to really understand HTML and CSS before understanding JavaScript. Alright, now you also need some basic knowledge of JavaScript as well as programming fundamentals like variables, functions, loops, all the basic stuff that's involved in programming. So let's take a look at some of the course content and some of the topics and features we'll be learning. So TypeScript is a language that needs to be compiled into JavaScript, so we'll be covering that. Static type checking and annotations, so we can add types to our variables and parameters, whether it's a string or a number or Boolean. Object-based classes and inheritance, which is a huge advantage to using TypeScript. Instead of using ES5 prototype-based classes, we can, objects, we can now use classes to define objects. Alright, interfaces, and we can use interfaces on objects and classes. Generics, which are a way to create reusable components with variable types. ES 2015 integration, so we'll be covering some of the ES 2015 features like arrow functions, block level scoping using let and const instead of var, destructuring arrays and objects, template strings, and we'll also set up a project using Webpack. So here's the course structure. We have 6 sections with 4 to 7 lectures per section, 1 video per lecture, and then any documents or project files that were used in that video will also be included. Alright, and then we also have 1 small quiz per section. So here's an overview of the different sections. We have Intro to TypeScript, where we'll obviously talk about what TypeScript is, some of its features, and we'll also set up our environment. Section 2, getting started with types. We'll talk about the different types we can use, strings, booleans, and so on. Also arrays, tuples, enums, all the different types that are available. Section 3, we'll talk about some of the more advanced types, as well as interfaces and generics. Section 4 will be TypeScript and ES 2015, where we'll talk about things like arrow functions and template literals. Section 5 will be all about classes and objects. So inheritance, we'll talk about some of the different modifiers we can use, how to add interfaces to classes. And then in Section 6, we'll be building a project called TS To-Dos, or TypeScript To-Dos, which will be very simple in functionality, but I'll show you how to set up a development environment using Webpack, and we'll make it so that our TypeScript files are compiled on the fly. So the project, like I said, we'll be using Webpack. We'll set up automatic TypeScript compiling. We'll create a To-Dos class with different interfaces. We'll use static typings throughout the whole application. We'll use block scoping with let and const, and we'll also implement local storage so that we can persist our data. Alright, so that's the gist of the course. Hopefully you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video.